talking about Wisconsin from a first-time player's point of view, which means this is the first time I've experienced all these missions. Now, if I want to restart this game, the replayability is very good, but there's so much content that keeps being made because I purchased the Season 1 pass when it first was released. I actually pre-ordered the game. And I also purchased the Season 2 pass. Because this game has so much content. Now before I get started with Wisconsin talking about it on hard mode, let me tell you the reason why I'm only in Wisconsin, and this is also the only time that I've ever played these missions. Because it's a very good question, because the pre-order, the release date was over about a year and a half ago. Going on 2 years now. People may ask, well, that doesn't make any sense. If you pre-ordered it, why are you here? Well, there's a good reason for that. I only played the game for about a week when it first got released. And then I put the game down because it was too tough for me. I'll be honest, I was getting stuck all the time. I was out of money. The recovery fees costing me too much money. I don't remember if hard mode was available, but I think it was. I don't remember. So, over a year and a half went by, and now I started playing the game again. So there's your explanation, if you're wondering, as to why I have not completed the game yet. And I'm glad I waited now, because now there's so much content that's being made that it's being made faster than I can keep up with it. I have probably about 1,000 hours in this game already. A lot of games, there's only about 70 to 80 hours worth of content, and then the person who plays the game solves the game, and then they move on to the next game, and if it's replayable, they replay it. Whereas SnowRunner, I heard that the Amur region, which I'll show everybody as I talk about stuff, there's no script here, I'm just talking about the game on hard mode. If I go to global map from this screen, scroll to Amur. Right now I have 2 scouts there, ready to explore. All set up. I heard Amur takes months, literally. As much as I play this game, there's so much content just in this region. There's months worth of content. There's so much to do. I'm looking forward to that. There's no other game that I've played in my life that has so much content. Now, in the very beginning, if I had played, I would have, of course, played what content there was, which in the beginning I believe it was Alaska, Michigan, of course, and Taimyr, Russia. I don't believe the rest were in there yet. So I've already completed Alaska, Taimyr, and Michigan. So as you can imagine, because the replayability is so high in this game, I can imagine a lot of people restarted their game and got better at it as they got to the point, and now they've got this awesome campaign on hard mode going. And because of that, they have more money than me. A lot more. I've made so many mistakes because, of course, it's my first time playing the game. So I've got like $67,000 right now, but I've got like 17 vehicles. So I'm doing quite well. The next mission is going to pay out the one I'm on right now. Let me show you all. It's going to pay $14,300, which isn't bad. The problem with hard mode in Wisconsin is there's no free fuel in Wisconsin that I have seen, or I don't expect to find anymore, or find any at all. Not anymore. What I meant to say is any at all. Hold on, I just got a text. It's okay. I just had to read that. So I've got the blue dots set up here, going toward the sawmill. Whoops, I forgot to get refueled. I did it in the wrong order. The refueling is kind of weird here. Right now, the Fleet Star has got a fuel tank that it's carrying. For some reason, I cannot get it to show up here on the screen. I actually have to fill it from the Fleet Star, which was what I meant to do in the first place, but I did it backwards. And then I can fill, which I wanted to do here with the maintenance trailer. That's not the target. That's going to be the source, which I guess I should have got into here first to do it. So there's many ways to transfer fuel around. It's very convenient. The game makes it so you can do it in many different ways. It's a nice that they do that. The developers put a lot of time into this game. And let me tell you, it's a lot of fun. On hard mode, because there's consequences. There's a lot of planning. Every gallon of gas must be used toward making money. Free roaming is very limited on hard mode because gas is so expensive. Fuel, I mean, not gas. I want to say that correctly. I want to get the right terminology. Diesel, petrol, P-E-T-R-O-L. I believe this is, let me just see if I can transfer some fuel over to my Caterpillar. Yeah, it needs some fuel. So the source, the target, make sure that's all fueled up, because I don't expect use that, but I want to make sure it's got full fuel now that here out in the middle of nowhere. We're going to talk about fuel too. It's $16 a gallon at one of the stations here, and at another station, I believe it's $23 a gallon. The further you explore the map. The one nearest the garage is usually the cheapest on all maps, the gas station. Now, the thing is on Michigan, Alaska, and in the Russia maps, there's free fuel spread about in tankers, in semi-trailer tankers, and in trailer tankers, all over the maps. So fuel isn't really necessarily an issue, but in Wisconsin, I found out there is no free fuel. All fuel is paid for. Whatever free fuel you can bring from retaining and deployment fees, that's it. Once it's gone, it's gone. And there you have to, on hard mode, there's the element where you have to, well, that's as close as I'm going to get. That should work. Yeah, that should be okay. I'm trying to talk and do this at the same time, and I'm not really the greatest at it. See here, I just stopped my engine. We got to restart the truck to go into crane mode. So I need 3 planks left for this task. So to go do that, open the storehouse. I have 6 in stock. Now I have to figure out how. There we are. I don't want to pay the fee. Now the thing is, if I take, sometimes I do pay the fee. If, for example, it's going to take too long to load stuff up. With fuel being $16 a gallon, and it's cheapest here in Wisconsin, on hard mode. As you can see how much gas I'm burning right now, 1.1 gallons a minute. $16 a minute. If loading is going to take too long, because I need to get positioned properly, because in some situations in some situations, getting positioned because the cargo you're trying to load is in a precarious situation or on a hill, because sometimes these cargo areas, like sometimes the metal beams locations, can have hills where it takes a lot of maneuvering to get positioned if you have a crane. So then loading, paying the $150 fee then becomes more profitable because it's burning too much fuel. So that has to be taken into account on hard mode. Everything revolves around supply lines for the fuel, repair supply lines for repairing vehicles as they get damaged. Now I only loaded 2, you saw, right? That is on purpose. The third one is going to be on the way. I had dropped it. I loaded an extra wooden plank. I loaded up an extra wooden plank here. I gotta remember which way to go. I'm trying to use my memory. Straight ahead. I made it a 5-slot trailer. This one right here, the one I'm using now, I turned it into 6 slots by manually loading an extra cargo, which in that case was wooden planks. But the problem is that can't be packed down. It's not strapped down. I can only strap down a possibility of 5 slots or 5 cargo slots. For example, metal beams take up 2 slots, whereas wooden planks take up 1 slot each. And then anything else you load up cannot be packed. If you try to pack it, it will delete it and only let you keep what was originally packed. So you can carry extra items. So here's one of my supply points. Oh yes, I must change the truck to do this properly. Now I don't need the engine started to do this truck. I want to target, I want the source to be the maintenance frame head on. There we are. Now for some reason it turns the light off. I wish it would leave the lights on when I change vehicles, especially since I left this running. Maybe I turned them off, but I do know for a fact, because I've tested it, if a person has the lights, I think the best way here is to turn left. Then that's not the right way. It's the best way to go. That's not going to get me stuck because I'm going around a big, soupy, muddy spot. And I know that this direction is a detour, but doing it in the dark is dangerous. That's when accidents happen. But I'm relying on my skills and memory right now. Let me look at the map. Okay, I need to make another sharp right turn and head this. Wait, no, I need to keep going straight, right this way. Okay. So we're heading to the farm, and I know the way. And let me show you where the cargo dropped off, where I turned 5 slots into 6 slots on a trailer. The extra one actually fell off, and I thought to myself, well, I'll just come back and get it later. So I left it here after gathering it up again because I knew I would come back. The safest way toward the farm then is for me to double back. Well, I should have gone this way first, then down this trench area. This road, there's a road here. This is the best way I found out to get to the farm in Wisconsin. Done it enough times. Now there's a bunch of wooden stumps here. A bunch of tree stumps. Wooden stumps, that's an oxymoron. Of course they're wooden. Tree stumps is the better word. Then right here through these, by these two trees, there's a path that's not as deep. And then this way, this direction here. Yes. And then pretty much it's almost a straight shot. And then I'll get my money. Which barely puts me at a profit because of the fuel costs in this game. I did the math. It's $16 a gallon. It is like 7,600 bucks to fill up a fuel tanker. Depending on, that's 476 gallons. I'm not sure what that is in liters. But playing this game, I found out that I know the CK1500, for example, I know it has 11 gallons, which translates into, or no, I'm sorry, 22 gallons, which translates into 80 liters. So I know that 11 gallons is equal to 40 liters in this game. That I found out. I've just always had gallons in my life. So that's what I chose. So I've noticed in Wisconsin, the profit margins are very small. It does take careful planning. Every gallon of fuel burned better mean toward making money, not just unnecessary exploration, unless it's for upgrades. Scouts. Or to scout ahead to see how a road is for the work trucks. Of course, which is a strategy everybody does. Wisconsin, talking about Wisconsin. You need a lot of money before coming here. I should have done a different region before coming here. Let's look at let me just show you, for example, here. The region that is, I believe, the Yukon. I should have done first, because there are some upgrades for some trucks that I haven't got yet. Or is it not the Yukon? I believe it's not Dawn. It was this one. I'm sorry. Kola Peninsula has the all-wheel drive somewhere upgrade there for the GMC truck. The very first truck we start out with. The work truck. Not including, of course, the CK1500 Chevy Scout. And I still have the GMC. I still have the original truck. It's a very nice truck in the late game. Which is kind of weird to say in SnowRunner. There is really no late game because they just keep making content. So as they keep making content, what is late game now eventually becomes mid game later on. So let me reach. Whoa, we're sliding there. A little fishtail. What is late game now eventually becomes mid game later. So the GMC now mid game has a very important upgrade there, which I should have visited that region, like I say, before I came to Wisconsin, because now I have my GMC waiting to get that all-wheel drive upgrade to make it really awesome. Basically, I can go anywhere. Right now it's just sitting there with all the upgrades except that, so it's still a good truck. It still gets around, believe it or not. What I did with my GMC, which we're going to see here in a minute, it's on the way. Let me double back. We'll talk about it some more. The GMC up here, a lot of people sell it. It's not a good idea to sell it, keep it, because eventually it is an awesome truck. And it's surprisingly awesome, even without the all-wheel drive upgrade. It's got the locking differential, which I was shocked at how easily it goes around in mud. Oh yes, and the reason it does so well, the upgrade, which includes the Fleet Star, I believe this truck here as well, GMC, all have the same upgrade in the engines, I think. But the very first one that a person finds, the upgrade itself, the most powerful one, actually is the best one, but it burns the most gas, but it has the most power. So I chose to put it on the GMC, my first truck. It's a good idea because it only has rear wheel differential lock. Rear wheel drive differential. Diff lock. Engageable, of course. And once the all-wheel drive kicks in, with that big powerful engine, it's going to be worth keeping. Now, there are some vehicles I had to sell, unfortunately, because I had no choice. This is the Kodiak, which I finally found the all-wheel drive for, but I didn't have it anymore. I was forced to, or suffer the consequences of having to restart my save game, because I was in a desperate situation where I was out of money because of mistakes that were made, naturally, for being a first-time playthrough, like I said earlier. So I had to sell the Kodiak, and it's a nice truck. I really felt bad doing that. So I will only sell my vehicles if presented in a situation where I have no other choice but to start thinking about restarting my save game. No. I don't like to be in that situation, but it happens. Now I'm at a comfortable spot where I've got enough money, even though what I have is not a lot. It's still comfortable cushion, where I don't have to worry about restarting my game. But it's easy to make mistakes. You don't want to get complacent on hard mode. It's easy to make mistakes, and the next thing you know, you're spending a lot of money. Just to come to Wisconsin and retain and deploy your vehicles is going to cost a lot of money. And then the upgrades that you need are going to cost money. And then there's no fuel, so you got to buy for your own fuel on hard mode. There's no free fuel, that is. There's only fuel stations. Restore crane. Now I need to double back. Before I do that, I said I was going to show the GMC. For those that sold it, you know, I understand. Maybe you had to. Maybe you had no choice. But keep it. If you play on hard mode, this truck is so awesome once it's fully upgraded, but it takes a long time to get there. This truck is awesome. It's just like the Fleet Star. It can carry a trailer with a crane and a cargo container such as this. It's just like the Fleet Star. It can carry a trailer along with it. There is enough room. So, another reason to keep it. Alright, let's go back to the Tega. Continue onward to the farm as I talk about Wisconsin on hard mode. I've invested, I'd say, about $130,000 cash just to get the startup, just for the startup. And that includes logging. It's the first time I've done logging, which I want to talk about briefly. Wisconsin introduces a player to logging. Unfortunately, there is logging in Michigan that I could have done, but I didn't. I didn't know much about it because the game doesn't really have a tutorial, and some of the descriptions for some of the trailers was confusing. For example, in Michigan, there are some trucks that have a short trailer addition, or a short trailer add-on, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I have looked at logging, and it's there, because the missions are there. I've taken a gander, even though I haven't done them, I have looked at them, and I don't see short logs anywhere. So I'm thinking, is that a mistake? Actually, no, it's not a mistake, because short logs, I think, are first introduced here in Wisconsin. So that kind of steered me away that I did not have that knowledge already in my mind. So then I'm thinking, okay, I don't necessarily need to do logging. Besides, the investment is high. Also, some trailers we cannot take with us to other regions, so then we have to reinvest into some of the logging trailers. And that, unfortunately, costs a lot of money. Some of those logging trailers are not cheap. Ones we cannot take with us. And on hard mode, as everybody knows, you cannot sell trailers, even the ones you purchase. The only option is to destroy them. So once all the logging is done, any leftover trailers that cannot be taken with basically just sit there and rot. When we go to the next region, we have to rebuy them again. Only certain ones. I'm not talking about the ones that go with the truck to other worlds, where you retain the truck, whatever logging attachments it has on, it keeps. And then you pay the deployment fee of $3,500 in the new region. Of course, every truck is like that, as everybody knows. Then have to reinvest into certain trailers that attach. It's expensive. I mean, already paying a $3,500 fee per logging truck, then to have to rebuy the expensive trailers that you might need makes logging a huge investment. It's like 50 grand at the start. Not including the cost of the trucks, but I'm talking the cost of the truck add-ons, the cost of the truck trailers for logging, and then the fuel that goes along with it, because you have to, everything revolves around fuel on hard mode. It's a $50,000 investment just to get started once you start logging, and then you need to make that money back. It takes a while. I still have not made my logging investment back. I haven't done many logging missions. I think I've done 2. So I'm learning as I go. So it would have been nice to learn about logging in Michigan. The game, like I say, is kind of confusing. Some of the trailer descriptions are confusing. They're not specific enough. They assume too much. And there's no introduction to logging in Michigan or Alaska or even Russia. It's just assumed that it's known knowledge. I wish there was some sort of miniature tutorial that briefly touched on logging in Michigan. That way a player can do logging. Now, for me to go back to Michigan when I have hardly any trucks left would not be cost effective. The $3,500 per truck plus the reinvestment in some of the trailers. Turns out, if I don't make any mistakes, if I go back, including deployment fees, is not worth the effort and the risk for logging for me to go back to Michigan. Just the payouts are just simply not high enough. I think I'd make like $10,000 or $15,000 profit. Like I say, if I get lucky and don't tip my trailers and have to do recover rescue missions. And what if that rescue mission goes bad and the truck trying to rescue the truck that needs to be rescued also flips over? Now I have 2 trucks that I need to go rescue. Everybody's been in that situation before. But if the payout and the profit total risk value is very small, it's not worth it. So unfortunately, I will not be doing logging in Michigan. I've already lost my chance. I should have done it while I was there. The fact that the game kind of doesn't even talk much about it or explain how it works, I had to find out for myself. And in hard mode, there's no trial and error. You can't just buy something, test it out, and sell it back. No, you only get the half price. Plus, you can't just experiment with logging trailers because you can't buy them back or you can't sell them. So the luxury of trial and error doesn't exist on hard mode. And that includes test driving vehicles, of course. Oh, right. I was expecting a cinematic. That would have been neat. Contribution to farm restoration successful. Here's my reward. Not bad. It's covering the fuel costs so far, but not very well. There's a small profit margin. Now, if I leave my Tega here, it's going to sink in the mud a little bit, but it is a workhorse, just like the description says. Fully upgraded with the best engine, fully upgraded tires, fully high raised suspension. All the toys, bells and whistles. Well, did you see that the birds flew when I honked my horn? Or my air horn. Gotta make sure I get the terminology correct. So the game is automatically saving. On hard mode, the game saves for you, just like on regular mode. On regular mode, there's no consequences because everything's free. Hard mode, there's no going back. Whatever happens, happens. You deal with it, or start the game over from scratch. If you want to pay the recovery fee, and you've got the money and you think you can afford it, do it. Or otherwise you're going for a rescue mission. On regular mode, since there's no consequences, you just simply recover your vehicle. It's free. Recover to the garage. You try again. No consequences. Hard mode is a completely different game. It turns SnowRunner on its head. It's regular mode and hard mode are two completely different games. Let me make that clear before I continue. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Minus the one that I found here on the map, which is this one. So that's 8 times 3,500 in deployment fees so far just to bring them to this map. I always bring a lot of trucks to the maps I explore. And then some trucks will be left over to continue on while I move on to other content. Because there's always content in other regions to go back to. Let me show you what I mean. In Taymyr, Russia, for example, I've got, I think, 2 trucks still there. Wait, hold on. I got a truck here, and I've got some trucks here. The Dairy Longhorn and the 420 Tatarian is winching a fuel tanker for the Dairy Longhorn. But right now, the Dairy Longhorn it's got a lot of fuel. It's got some fuel. Quite a bit. I can actually accept another contract, but I'm going to need more fuel to continue, and that means I'm going to have to start paying for fuel here in Russia because I've ran out of fuel and I have ran out of free fuel in Russia. So I'm debating whether or not just to possibly skip the mission because it only pays like $7,900. I got to think, is the cost of fuel going to be more than doing the mission? So that's a factor, and the risk involved. There's only 2 vehicles here. If one flips, is the other one capable of rescuing the other one? So I'm thinking about maybe just driving back or staying here and coming back later because there's still a lot I can do here in Russia. I've only completed, I believe, I don't know, it doesn't say here how much I've completed. But I believe it's only like maybe 60% of Russia is completed. So there's a lot to do. So what my point is that some of my trucks always come with me to regions. Like the Caterpillar always comes with me. So it always my main areas that I want to start delving into. The cool thing about this game is if you get bored in one region, you can move to another region, but you got to do it carefully on hard mode. You don't want to get to where moving your vehicles around so much, the deployment fees start eating into your profits. It becomes pointless to do that. So it has to be carefully balanced. I need to get a scout over here. I do have another vehicle that I forgot to mention. It's here in Wisconsin. That's waiting for me to use my crane to rescue it. This one right here. Let's load that up. I was going for an upgrade and I flipped on my side. And now I do have an autonomous winch, but there's no good winch points to upright myself. So it's waiting for a rescue. And I'm slowly getting there, but I'm making sure that I don't jump the gun and go rescue it right away because that's going to cost too much fuel. Every gallon of fuel burned has to mean something. I will eventually rescue this as my other trucks move toward it. I'm kind of creeping along, slowly doing missions and tasks and contests as I go. Sometimes I'm doing 5 missions at once because that's where the cargo is. So you see here, this is the situation I'm in here. I just see, wait, see the winch points are just all in bad areas. There's no, my autonomous winch, which I don't need to have the engine turned on to use, for those that are not familiar what that means, or not familiar with what autonomous winch means. See, there's just no, I only have the one, it's only giving me the one option. I don't know how to get more options here. I know on PC, I would be able to find different winch points, but I don't think I can do that on the PS4. Wait a minute. Okay, I hit the D-pad. If I hit the D-pad, I can change the radius, the area of effect. And unfortunately, I'm just facing the wrong way. If I was 90 degrees flipped, so my tires are pointing toward the trees, my autonomous winch would pull me upright and I'd be able to grab that upgrade. But as you can see, I'm trying to zoom out as far as I can. This is as far as I can zoom out. And I have the zoom out on full. The field of view is at 100%. I'm pretty sure. See, can you see why I am in this situation that I'm in? See, here's the third person. It's at max. Field of view, which is FOV. This is, I went down, I tried to find a way in there. I couldn't get around these trees. They blocked there. The developers put them there cleverly. And I just happened to flip, fell down the rocks. That's what happened. So I'm waiting to rescue this. I'm not going to recover it because it costs money and it's silly to do that. It took a lot of time and effort to get to this spot, which in Black Badger Lake is way over here. No, that's not the spot. It's over here, next to this Western Star, which is actually not mine. It's part of a rescue mission. I have to tow it. And it was originally stuck here. Saving the farmer's machinery. That's the actual mission. I actually towed it with the 39 Con Marshall with the upgraded engine. Not the stock engine. Definitely wouldn't be powerful enough. But that 39 Con Marshall is an awesome scout truck. So I towed it up to here, across these very steep here, by the way. It was cool. And then up to here, and then I said to myself, well, why don't I just drop it off here? Because the White Western Star is eventually, I'm going to be towing it down this road and go explore Grainswood River for the first time. So I did. I saw the upgrade there. I went to get it, and boom, it flipped on its side. And that was the end of the exploration for Grainswood River for now. So the crane that I have, which is the Dan, let's teleport to that, is slowly making its journey. And the reason I have not driven all the way yet is because maybe I'll need it for a rescue mission yet, and that costs fuel. Because on a hard mode, you always got to make sure you plan your fuel. Like I've said, I can't say it enough. Make sure every gallon of fuel burned counts towards something. Otherwise, you're wasting fuel. That is the best way to get your game ruined on hard mode, is to just burn fuel with no plan. Just aimlessly just driving around thinking, or too much driving around, you know what I mean. There's got to be a strategic plan to everywhere a vehicle goes. It must be doing something. There must be a reason for why it's there. There's a specific reason, there's a plan, there's a method, a methodology that slowly comes together as a plan. So let's get inside the Dan. We're now teleporting. The game is loading. And it tells you certain facts. A big rig has a 55-foot turning radius. And then it's going to go to the next fact as it loads to keep a person entertained. gain some knowledge about trucking. Jackknife accidents occur when the trailer's tires start to skid and move faster than the cab, and these types of accidents can happen in any road condition. It tells you about facts about the trucking industry that you may or may have not known, and it's kind of neat. Truck drivers get hurt and sick a lot with one of the highest. So, you can pause the screen there and read it if you'd like. Now, I have it like this, with the anchors out, because I didn't want it to sink into the mud or roll down the hill. It's a very steep hill here. If I was just to leave it here parked, which it has been for quite a while, I use this to rescue a Hummer, which then the game gives you for free. So I still have it. So that's why it's here. And also it was for rescuing some cargo too. That's why it's here. But if I hadn't put those anchors out, it would be definitely more sunk into the mud than it is. And maybe it would never have been able to drive out. That's how cool this game is in realism. The longer it sits, it's going to sink. Also, I don't want it to roll downhill. So the anchor was definitely a decent idea. As you can see, some of the tires are sunk in, but that's not going to be enough to hurt this when the rest of them, when it has diff lock on and all-wheel drive permanently always on, and it's got a nice engine in there. This is my crane truck, heavy-duty crane truck. That's what's going to rescue the Con 39 Marshall eventually. Yep. So that's what's going on in Wisconsin. There's so much to talk about. So much to talk about. And like I say, on hard mode, you're going to be doing missions at the same time. Right now, I'm currently working on Paper Factory A and B. I've chiseled away. As you can see, if I can get it to a spot where you can read in the upper right-hand corner, 2 out of 4 metal beams, 3 out of 6 concrete blocks so far. And I did that strategically, thinking, okay, my truck is near a cargo location. I don't necessarily need the cargo now, but I know I'm going to need it later. Why not take it with me so that I don't have to double back and burn twice as much fuel? So if there's extra slots on your trailers, use them. Any extra slots should always be used. I'm also working on Factory Trip B. Let's see if I've done anything. I haven't done anything toward that yet. It just has not been in my travels. The metal rolls, for some reason, there are none available yet. I noticed over time, some of these spots will just all of a sudden have cargo. And I'm thinking, where did that come from? I checked it earlier and there was no cargo. Because in Wisconsin, cargo, there's just only a limited amount of cargo at every cargo location. That's why there's a lot of them. When I first got into Wisconsin, I said to myself, why are there so many metal beam spots, metal framing spots? Why are there so many brick framing spots? And then I found out it's because it has limited cargo. Once it's gone, it's gone. So if I scroll to rolled metal production, which is an object, which I'm looking at right here on the map, if I find it, it says metal rolls, but there's no number next to it. On the other maps, that means that there's unlimited there. You can pay for it or you can load them up yourself using a crane. But in Wisconsin, there's inventory. Right now, there's 0 inventory, so it will be pointless for me to travel there. I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. It says production site. Does that mean there's none there, or does that mean there are some there? I don't know. It's kind of just testing stuff. Wisconsin is kind of confusing at the very beginning when it comes to cargo. The sawmill, for example, you need to take logs to it to turn into pallets. You actually have to feed it, where the other maps you don't have to. Wisconsin is definitely different. I like it. I like its approach to making the game fun. I'm also working on this task here, Paper Factory C. See where it says consumables? And I thought to myself, okay, I know the railway station has consumables because I've studied. So then when I was near the railway station, which is right here with my trucks, and I had extra slots left on my trailers, I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? I'm here, let's load up some cargo. And I said, oh, and I looked ahead and saw, okay, factory section C mission is there. It's the same factory. But yet I first need to complete section A and section B, but I know that I'm here, I might as well grab some consumables. So I grabbed 4. I grabbed all 4 of them that were at the railway station. There was only 4, so I grabbed them, dropped them off here, knowing that I'm going to need them later at the factory. As you can see, they're right here. Boom. I just saved myself some fuel. I just made money, future money that's going to be all of a sudden be there. That the fuel that I would have spent to double back and go back to the railway, because I'm thinking, if you do one mission at a time and don't look at the other missions while you're doing it, the prerequisite missions that you're doing for other future missions, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to be burning too much fuel. You're going to be spending money needlessly that you don't need to be spending on fuel in Wisconsin, because like I said, there is no free fuel tankers spread about the map. All fuel that you have to buy it. The cheapest one is here at $16 a gallon. I believe even the fuel station up here, I think, is $23 a gallon next to the sawmill. So I've got a supply chain starting to grow. See, I've got this truck here for the Western Star, but I'm not sure where to go with that yet. I do have some plans. My cat, which is so far doing the logging to feed the sawmill. Some medium logs, of course. Here is the Fleet Star, which is a maintenance trailer / fuel trailer. So I've already got a supply chain going here on the main roads that I think I'm going to be focusing on. Here's a truck. It's got the Step 310's got a full tanker, almost completely full of fuel. 476 gallons. That's a part of the supply chain. Here's a Scout truck, which carries fuel in case something runs out of gas. You know, it needs a few gallons just to get to where it needs to go, to either get to a fuel station or part of the supply chain. The Scout 800 is definitely worth keeping. Let's go look at it. I've got the second best engine for it. Not the best engine, but it's enough to get where I'm going. And then I put the smallest chain tires purchasable so that it prevents flipping. Do not buy the big tires for the Scout 800 if you keep it. Do not buy the high, big. You're going to be flipping on your side all the time. And of course, an autonomous winch is mandatory for this one. But if you can have it with just I believe I still have the high suspension. I can't remember. Maybe I took it off. That might be just stock suspension. I can't really tell. But I got the smallest chain tires that I could get. Means less flipping onto its side. The center of gravity is lowered to the point where keeping this actually makes sense. With the big giant tires on it, it's ridiculous how much this flips. It's a weeble wobble. It's like Humpty Dumpty everywhere it goes. So that is whoops, I forgot to turn the engine off. I want to leave it running. It's always something important to keep track of. I wanted to make sure I kept talking over that music. I don't want any trouble with music being recorded. That's why I kept having to make sure I was talking while the music was playing. Everybody knows what this is. This is a generator that's used for crafting in Wisconsin. Another cool concept. Here I've got generator number 1, which I wrote down what it has. It makes cement, concrete blocks, concrete slabs, consumables, and metal beams. I'm going to actually drive the Tega to get some metal beams and consumables for a future mission at the factory. And since I'm near, I'm going to use my number 1 rule, which is always make sure that your fuel you're burning is going towards a future contract mission or task or whatever the case may be. So right now the one I'm really focusing on is this one, which I know I can get 2 more metal beams, which I'm going to load up, and then I'm going to use the rest of the trailer, because it only holds 5 slots, but I'm still going to stack more onto it. I'm going to actually stack a bunch of consumables, because that is needed for, if I go to the missions. Whoops, pardon me, I was on the right screen. Whoops, I'm trying to find it. Here, I was there. My mind for some reason got confused. See how this one wants 6 consumables at the factory, which is the same place I'm going for factory section A. It's the same building. So what I plan on doing then is taking my Tega, which is by the farm, which, forgive me, I'm still trying to figure out this map right here. I'm going to take this path this way, back the same way I came, because I've found out that's the best route. There might be other better routes, but this is the one that I've just discovered by accident in my own playings of the game. There might be other ones that are better. For people that are watching that are familiar with this game, there might be a better route. But I found out I've avoided all this, and this right here, this nonsense. This is really treacherous here. It's easy to get stuck. I've figured out how to avoid just from playing, and I thought, why not just cut through the forest? There is a path, and I can avoid all this nonsense. This way. There we are. Up to there. Now I can get some metal beams and some consumables for the other mission that I'm working on slowly. Take it towards and just dump them off right here where I've got the 4 consumables. So I only need 2 more. There's 4 here plus the 2 that I'm going to grab from the crafting area, because number 1, crafting area does make consumables. There's 3 different crafting areas in Wisconsin. Number 2 I think just makes sandbags, but crafting area number 3 near the rail station makes fuel, small pipes, medium pipes, large pipes, and cargo containers. That all takes fuel to craft. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I know. Turning fuel into objects is weird, but you got to think of it in terms of role play. Possibly you're paying for another company to truck the metal beams or the consumables from another area, and the fuel cost is what you're reimbursing them for. Whatever, you can use your imagination. Crafting fuel to turn I mean, that's totally not possible, right? That's silly. But it is what it is. You're burning fuel, which, let me show you, since I'm on the subject. There's so much complicated stuff in this game. That's what makes it fun. And sometimes you can just stare at the map, study the missions, and you can do that for hours before you even start driving your trucks. Because it's like studying for a college exam sometimes, just figuring stuff out. Because on hard mode, it's very difficult. On regular mode, there's the luxury of just driving wherever you want, making mistakes because fuel is free. Recovery is teleporting back to the garage is free. There's no regular mode. Like I say, it's a different game on hard mode. I don't want to rehash all that. This is cool. I've got a fuel tanker, which feeds the generator, which if I turn on, I might as well. I got to craft a couple beams and 2 consumables. So now what I do is I hit the circle button on the PlayStation 4 controller, open the storehouse. I want to craft. Hold on, bear with me. Okay, now I hit the directional pad. I want to craft 2 metal beams. Okay. Fuel in the generator, 452. It costs 150 fuel to craft. Craft 1. craft 2. Now I want to craft 2 consumables. That costs 150 for each one. So right now, the fuel in the generator is at 152, which will leave it with only 2 gallons left. So we got to refuel it with this truck here, which I thought ahead, you know, put some fuel in there. 239. Now that's kind of weird. Those numbers are not matching up. It says there's more fuel in the generator than there's actual fuel. Maybe that's in liters. Because in gallons, there's not 902 gallons in there, as you all saw. So I need to craft 2 consumables. 1, 2. Alright now. So now, since it's not going to be this truck, I'm going to stop, turn the generator off. And I didn't need to start my truck to do that, which is nice. But I could refuel a little bit. As you can see, the generator has 186 gallons, but it actually says I guess I gotta turn it on. You all saw, that must be liters. It must translate to liters to craft. That makes sense. It costs 150 liters to craft, even if you have gallons as your, I don't know, that's just a guess. But it is what it is. That's what I'm thinking it is. No big deal. I'm happy. So now I'm going to take my Tega and go grab the 2 metal beams and the 2 consumables that I just crafted for this mission and for the other mission, which requires 6 consumables total, which I'm going to add to the pile of 4 at the factory. Which then makes sense because the Tega has a 5-slot trailer that's going to be taking up a total of 2 for each metal beam, so that's 4, plus the 1 consumable, that's 5, plus the 6th consumable. There's no extra slot, but there is a way to still put it on top, and attaching the crane to the cargo and adjusting the crane so that it's hugging the cargo so that it doesn't fall off, and then drive with the crane arm doing it, which I might as well show, and then that will end this video. I might as well, since I just talked about it, I might as well follow through. Plus it's almost dark outside. I need to get to the location before it gets dark, because I can load product in the dark. I just don't like driving in the dark, especially in areas where it's dangerous like this. But I've been here enough to where I know the routes pretty well. I know to avoid this, there's some thick brush here that can get caught up on. Avoid that. This Tega is a small truck, but it's a workhorse. It's got some power. It's actually smaller than the Fleet Star, believe it or not. I was shocked. I put them next together and compared the size. This Tega is smaller than even the Fleet Star, but it's a more powerful truck. Very cool. So far, I'm doing well. Following my pathway that I've laid out. It's almost pitch black. It's dark outside. But I have the settings set to where it's realistic. I can actually change the brightness, but I don't want it to look ridiculously bright at night, because that just ruins the immersion value. What playing a game is all about. Alright, we're almost there. It's still a little bit of daylight, so that's good. Sometimes that's when accidents happen, is in the dark. A rock that you can't see gets underneath your vehicle, and the next thing you know, it's flipped on its side. It happens. We're going to load up the beams first, then the 1 consumable, and then the last consumable. have bought an 8-slot trailer